What do we know about the man who is set to become Nepal's next Prime Minister? Well, for starters, he won't talk to us. We did try though.
Balen, BBC News! Why did you choose Chapter 5?
We didn't take it too personally though. Balen is known to mostly avoid the press. He did this when he was mayor of Kathmandu for 3 years, and he mostly avoided the press again when he was on the campaign trail. He's 35 years old, and he ran as a candidate for the Rastriya Swatantra Party, the RSP. Now, before he became a politician, he was actually a rapper. His songs would criticize those in power for things like alleged corruption, which was something that really enraged people in Nepal. One of the main reasons that Gen Z protesters ended up overthrowing the government back in September. As a politician, he became mayor for 3 years of Kathmandu. That was already somewhat of an upset, and he resigned that post to be able to now run in the constituency of Japa 5. Now, he's known for his trademark black sunglasses, for jumping into his own car and driving it when he was leaving his rallies. And he chose to run in the same constituency as the former Prime Minister, KP Oli. And that's significant because that's the Prime Minister who was ousted in September. And Balen said that he wanted to take the fight directly to him and represent the voice of Gen Z voters. Balen himself is essentially the polar opposite of those who've been in power in the past here in Nepal. Veteran, heavyweight politicians, older, familiar faces who have essentially bargained their way into coalition governments. This election would have never happened if it weren't for the Gen Z protests in September. TikTok, social media is really popular here in Nepal, and that's where a lot of people were venting their frustrations about things like alleged corruption. And so when KP Oli, the former Prime Minister, announced a ban on social media citing national security concerns, this enraged Gen Z Nepalis who then took to the streets and protested. Those morphed into a full-blown anti-corruption movement, and also mixed into that was a lot of frustration about the lack of opportunities here, the lack of jobs for people in Nepal, something that people here as we've traveled the country just keep talking about. They eventually overthrew KP Oli, and it triggered this election 5 months later that's delivered an absolutely historic result for people here. But you may notice that while it's busy around me, we haven't seen any big celebrations, any big rallies or parades, and that's because the RSP, who are set to win by a historic landslide, they have requested that this be a quiet victory, a more solemn moment in remembrance of the 77 people who died during those protests. Now, there was a certain generational divide here because the election was somewhat of a battle between the new faces in politics versus the veteran politicians that have governed Nepal for decades. Gen Z voters we spoke to as we traveled Nepal certainly saw it that way, and they said that they wanted their voices to be heard and new people whom they felt really represented them, like Balen, to take charge.
Wish him good luck. Thank you. We love you, Balen. Okay, bye-bye.
There were, of course, others who were very loyal to the former Prime Minister KP Oli, whom we met, people loyal to the parties that have ruled Nepal for 3 decades now. And they said that just because something is new doesn't mean it's good, that they valued the experience and felt that someone like KP Oli should be able to finish what he started. But when you look at the results, it's clear that a new political era has begun in Nepal. So what's in Balen and the next government's inbox? Well, for one, he promised to hold an investigation into alleged corruption dating all the way back to the 90s. There'll also be the results of an investigation into the protests themselves. Remember, 77 people died. People here in Nepal want to know exactly how that happened. And then finally, one thing that just keeps coming up as we've traveled through Nepal is the fact that people want jobs. Youth unemployment is at about 20% here in Nepal. That's among the highest in South Asia. And the RSP have promised to grow the economy. Critics argue some of those expectations and those goals are slightly unrealistic.